Good morning, everyone. Let me know if you're seeing us clearly. I just realized my mic was off, so I'll make sure that you're hearing me. Welcome to another session with us, the Sawyers. We're here.
Good morning.
This is Cornerstone as a virtual church this morning. I'm glad you came in to join us. You could have gone anywhere else. So we're really thankful that you chose to join us today. It's a beautiful day in the Carolinas, sunshiny and a little cold though, a little cold.
Pretty day to look at you.
You think so?
Oh, I know.
I hope you guys got enough sleep last night. I didn't get quite enough.
Wonder why?
I'm not even going to go into that.
I didn't do that to you.
You didn't?
Okay.
Okay.
And you make it
We'll talk about that later.
You sound like it's personal.
Anyway, guys, I hope you got enough sleep last night. I always miss that extra hour whenever we switch to daylight saving time. But I guess it has its benefits. We'll get a little more daylight today. And baby girl had a little trouble yesterday, so it kind of kept me on edge last night. But other than that, we're doing okay. And I hope you are. Let's see who's here. There's my sissy and my brother-in-law. And thank you, sissy, for calling me and letting me know it was time to change the clock. I didn't remember to do it. In fact, I didn't even hear anything about it. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't either. We were completely removed from it. There's Sandra. Good morning.
Good morning.
There's Deb. Hello, Deb.
Deb.
And Brother Blue and the family.
Blue.
And Phyllis and Edward. And
Edward and Phyllis and Pearl
Kim,
and Lucas.
Kim, how's that new grandbaby doing?
Mm-hmm.
And Essence. And hey, Dee Dee and George.
George and Junior.
Thank you for my shoes. They bought me some shoes. And I really like those shoes, George.
Oh, she's been wearing them. Oh, yeah. Mm.
It helped my knees. They really helped my knees.
Almost want to sleep in them.
No, I don't want to do that.
Well, that's good.
But they do help my knees. They do.
Mm-hmm.
They do. And there's Pearl. Hey, Miss Pearl. And
Miss Pearl. And Vernon
Thank
Lee.
you for letting us know you can hear and see us, Kim.
That's Vernon Lee.
Thank you. And Bird's in the house. Hey, Bernie. And it's getting close to Easter, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah, it is. Brand. Hey, sweetie. When is Easter, guys? I haven't even looked to see about that.
Easter Day.
I know that now. There's Sister Sharon. And Marcine is with you again. Sandra, tell her I said hello. I'm glad she's here watching. And the baby, she says, doing fantastic. Oh, good. All right. That sounds good. And I hope all of you guys that are watching that are not commenting, I pray that you're doing well and that you will stick around. And thank you, Jill. She said it's on March the 31st. So it's early this year, isn't it? Okay. Thank you, you guys. Thank you, Pearl. Yeah. So y'all got plans for Easter? Y'all gonna do big dinners or what? Anyway.
Regular dinner.
You don't even know. You're not gonna cook.
Well, you might not either.
You're not gonna cook.
You're not either.
Oh, who's gonna cook if I don't cook?
We just eat what we got.
What do you have?
Whatever we can find.
You were eating popcorn this morning. Because you didn't. He was eating popcorn for breakfast. This man is spoiled. He won't even fix him an egg. Hey, Brooke K. All right. I'm going to read scripture, and then we're going to do our meditation and affirmation, whatever. I was thinking about this scripture in Jeremiah 29:11. A lot of you are familiar with it. If you're Bible scholars, you're familiar with it. And I like this scripture. It's one of my favorite passages because it lets us know what God thinks of us. And it says this. He says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." I think that's a wonderful way to start the day, to realize that God is looking out for you. God wants the best for you. And there is nothing that God is thinking about that would be to harm you. So we know that we're in the heart of God, and he said that he's mindful of man. So thank goodness it's not that God is looking to punish, not that God is looking to judge. God is always thinking of us in the way of love, in the law of love.
Good.
You got something on your plate this morning? It's good.
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay, I'm ready for it in a minute. Let's do this. Let's do our affirmation, meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it. And thank you guys for coming in. Marvita just came in. Adele Valentine's. I'm not sure if I remember you, sweetheart. Let us know where you're coming in from and how we know you, okay? And then there's Kathy. She's here today. I'm glad you guys are here. We're getting ready to do our meditation, prayer, affirmation, however you want to, whatever you want to call it. But it's to center us, to bring us into a place of being able to be receptive and to leave everything aside. For this hour from now until we finish, you don't need anything else. You don't need to think of anything else. You don't need to imagine anything else. I want you to leave every concern outside, just like you would a pair of shoes when you come in and kick them off, put them in the corner. I want you to just slip these things off, slip your concerns off, slip your worries off, slip your aspirations off, put everything aside right now and not have any prejudging or prejudice for what this session ought to be. That way you'll get the best out of it. And I'm opening the whole space up for all of us to be able to comment, ask questions. As long as you're staying on the subject, we'll try to address what we see when you comment or ask a question. Okay? All right, let's do it. I want you to go in. Just go as deep in as you can. Just go as deep in as you can. Leave the world. Leave the world outside. Leave your self-made world. Leave family. Leave spouse. Leave bills. Leave house. Leave even your body and its feelings and your emotions. Leave that. Leave everything right now. Just leave it. Just leave it.
Just don't leave town.
Just leave it. Leave everything. Leave every comment. Leave every opinion. And you can say this after me, or you can simply listen. I am not this body. I am not these thoughts. I am not these feelings. I am consciousness itself. I am the background upon which all things appear. I am not any form, but I am the essence of all forms. I am the space between thoughts. This space, this place is where I live. I am always here. No one can touch me. No one can enter here where I am. Even my mind cannot enter here. I may forget who I am. I may forget where I am, but I cannot forget that I am. I am this knowing that knows that I am. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. All right, darling, what you got? What you got over there?
Well, I've been meditating on the sacred contracts that we set up before coming to Earth. And I never heard of such a thing until after years of investigating into near-death studies. And everything that is, it will be much better understood if we could get out of the ego's mindset that we came here to change things, to get. A lot of people give their life to the Lord. Either they come to the end of a road or they want to change things. But it's not too much taught in the church about the truth of why we're here. And we think that most of us, some find out and some don't. Whether I come here to be a teacher, preacher, pastor, or a fivefold ministry and all that kind of stuff. And most people in church want to find out whether they call to be a deacon or an elder or bishop.
Well, I go back to when I was raised in church, so that was not the thoughts in most of the minds of people I saw. What they thought when they went to church, they wanted to know a better way to get through life. They wanted to know, what can you tell me that's going to help me deal with what I'm involved with right now?
Yeah.
Or I just want some kind of emotional release. I haven't had a chance to feel good all week and been pressured and stressed. So I went to church for that. That's what a lot of people went to church for.
Yeah.
Or they had a problem in their body and they're hoping that somehow the Spirit of God would move on somebody to pray for them and they get healed. So there was the majority of the people that I know of and growing up in church were not there to find out what ministry they were in at all.
They wanted to go, a lot of time they want to go to make sure we give the Lord some time on Sunday. And
True.
And
True.
maybe our day would go better
Our
if we
week
go to
would
work.
go better. Yeah. To ease our conscience.
Yeah. We've been bad, and then we go there to confess or to show up. And then some people just religious, just go there. But anyway, after I got into this of a genuine experience with God, I wanted to go because my heart led me to go to a church. And I thought that when I went to church, that would be, out of all places, the best place to go on Sunday morning to make things right with God. But then after I got over into years of investigating, there was something much more important than that I found out. And that was finding out more about who I was and my true identity. And I thought that the true identity was my birth certificate, born into a certain kind of family, going to school, choosing a career. If not choosing a career, just go to school. In my case, it was going to school just to finish.
Because you had to.
Yeah. My brothers and sisters didn't finish, and I was the only one in my family that went to the 12th grade and went on further down the road. But I was forced to go, which I did not want to go. And if I had stayed home, I would have got beat almost from home all the way up the street to school.
Well, yeah, it was mandatory that you go. Well,
yeah. And it was always said that if I didn't go to school, my family gonna get locked up.
Oh yeah.
But my mama didn't get locked up because my brothers and sisters didn't go. I said, well, why would she get? She wouldn't get locked up for them and get locked up for me.
Yeah.
These are all issues that came up. At the time, I did not read the Bible. I couldn't read it, but I just took most of what I heard from church. And I thought maybe what was being said in church was the finality of everything. And then I really found out that you're supposed to go to Sunday school and you're supposed to have that manual and you're supposed to be able to answer questions. And I couldn't answer those questions because I wasn't interested in really getting involved in that.
Okay.
So I thought maybe if I was going to get serious about it, maybe I should carry a Bible in my pocket and use it as a good luck charm to keep me out of trouble, which that didn't work. Then I thought maybe if I stayed around somebody in the liquor house that talked about God, or around people that talked about Jesus or God, that would help me a little bit. But that didn't last long. But what I didn't know was that I didn't understand that my life and everybody's life on earth, when I began to investigate into the contracts or the sacred contract that we all set up before coming to this planet or to this earth, these things would never strike me.
Right. Now, we've been talking about the religion versus spirituality for several weeks now. I wanted to point out something. Let's see if I can go back to it right quick. Here, down at the bottom of this particular screen, if you guys see it, it says soul questions. With what you're talking about is you were even in your growing up and going to church and all of that, these questions popped up in your head.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
What is my purpose? What do I want? What is the meaning of life? All of those kinds of questions, which are deeper questions than how do I get my needs met? But at the same time, we still need our needs to be met. So those questions, asking the deeper questions, and even another question that isn't listed here is, how do I relieve my personal suffering?
Yeah.
And then you enter into the ministry when you begin to think, how can I relieve other people's suffering?
Yeah.
And I think that and I can't say for you, but I think watching your journey, your spiritual journey, a lot of the discoveries you made in the spiritual area came from you trying to find ways to cope with your own personal suffering. And so it led you into the closet.
Yeah.
It led you into the closet as a refuge more than anything.
Yeah.
And so that kicked off a whole system of finding the truth about yourself and finding the truth about God.
Well, as I found out, I never had heard of anything as, I thought getting saved was going to church and reading your Bible and talking to people about Bible and going to Bible studies. I thought that was getting saved.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I found out that was nowhere close to it.
That was just the door. It was just a door.
And some people never get past that door.
Never get past the door. Can we just go back through, unless you got something really burning, let's just go back through this one more time, just for the sake of giving some of those who haven't heard it, maybe a foundation for what we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 weeks. This is religion versus spirituality. Religion worships God, but it worships God as an other or separate, as a remote God. He's a remote God, the man upstairs. And even when, and so our journey in religion is you first have to discover that God is real, and then that you get a chance to to know God in a sense of God is with you. And you'll hear a lot of people say, God is with me. I knew God was with me in that.
Yeah.
So it worships God, but it's a remote God. But spirituality encourages oneness with God. So that puts God localized right here in your space. And it even goes beyond that, but we'll talk about that a little bit too. In religion, God is outside of you. In spirituality, God is within you. And even in the church, they know God is within them most of the time mentally. But when it comes down to their experience, they still feel like God is outside or God is remote.
That's the thing that puzzles me.
Yeah. Or even if God is in me, God is still in me separate from me.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that we deal with mostly is religion doesn't want people to put God where they are.
I found out that all the praying that I was praying was to get God to hear me and my request.
Mm-hmm.
The mystical side of that was that I didn't know that everything that I did was talking to God.
Yeah.
I thought talking to God was special moments pulled aside to talk to him about certain subjects as though he's not going to get it unless I talk to him about it.
Not only that, we didn't realize that everything that happens or doesn't happen is God speaking to us.
That's right. Now that to me, now some people are stuck in that and they say, well, now I'm not going to stop praying because Jesus prayed and prayer is the answer.
And you're not telling people to stop praying.
No, we're not.
No.
But I'm just telling you, my personal experience is that us sitting right here talking to you is talking to God. Now you say, well, now wait a minute. God ain't me. I ain't God. Okay.
But that goes back to what we just said. We say God is in us, but God's still separate in us.
Yeah.
And so we don't enter into that oneness.
So I entered in to the full acceptance that God and us are in the same place. And I always hear that old saying, God is not someone somewhere else at another time in another place, but he's right here. And what established this in me was then I went into the science of how this works. And the science is the full definition of how something is functioning.
Yes.
Now, let's look at it like this. Before you get the Holy Ghost, get saved, God in you and all of that, where is God? Well, I would say he's in heaven. Jesus left 2,000 years ago on the Mount of Olives. He went to heaven. Okay? You're physical oriented. But in spirit, he said in spirit. I found out that spirit was who I was.
Yes,
who all of us are.
It's who we are. Yes.
And I said, well, now.
And there is no place of spirit. There is no other origin for a spirit but God.
That's right. Now,
and the Bible tells us he is the father of spirits.
If I am a physical body and you ask me where I live, I could tell you the address, the street, and the kind of house I live in. That's physical.
Well,
but now, can we tell anybody the address, the street, and the place where God lives? Yes, we can.
Where do you live as a spirit?
Thank you.
Where do you live as a spirit?
Now we're talking.
And your spirit is not confined to your body.
That's right.
It's not confined.
But in the meantime, if it is a geographical location, I know where it is. Here and there and out there.
I did this the other day and it was kind of strange. I had never experienced this before, but I closed my eyes. I just closed my eyes and I said to myself, where am I? When I close my eyes, there's no place that I am. I'm just here. And you just try it. I mean, it's really simple. Just try it. Close your eyes and ask yourself, where are you? Not looking into your memory.
Don't
look into your memory about the room you're in or all of that as a physical being. But if you close your eyes and ask yourself, where am I? And try to locate yourself, you wouldn't be able to find yourself. You would only say, I am here.
But if I would say, close your eyes and locate yourself as the voice and a body, you would say, right here.
If I
identify myself as physical.
If I remember that there's a body here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I have to, in order to think like you just said, I have to think, I have to remember I've got a body.
Now, here's something I was going to read, and y'all heard me read before. Jesus said unto Thomas, when the question was asked, where are you going, Lord? How will we know the way to get there? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And then he said, if ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also. From henceforth, ye know him and have seen him. Now, he's talking about himself.
Yeah, you said you know him and you've seen him.
And you see him.
And you've seen him.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Have I been, Jesus said to him, have I been so long time with you? Now, he's talking in first person.
Yes, he is.
And yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that have seen me have seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father? Okay, I could say the same. I wouldn't say this because religious wise, you don't say this about yourself. And the reason why most people won't say this is that they don't know enough about themselves and who and where God is located.
And they're afraid of crossing that invisible line.
Yeah, cross that line, and they're going to say, well, I'm not telling the truth of where God is. Well, wait a minute. You don't have any trouble telling the truth about where you physically are. And if you say that God is in you, then why would you act like he's not in you because somebody asked you where he was and you were scared to tell them because you're afraid that they're going to think you've been religiously insane. And Jesus did not think it was insane to tell them that if you want to see the Father, look who's standing here in front of you. Who is talking to you? Where do you think this conversation comes from? Now, most of us say, well, I haven't cleaned up enough. I haven't had enough experience with God. I haven't studied what you've studied. Jesus, he found out that he is where God is. In his shoes, God was, and in God's shoes, he was. Now, this is not a superiority better than you self-identity.
Right.
This is a reality. Here's another one. God is the creator of life. The life that we are inside these bodies, whether you're saved or not, heaven bound or hell bound, work bound, car bound, grocery store bound, wherever you go, if you move, the life that God is inside this body is God. No, it ain't God yet. But look, I'm not going to fuss with this. All I'm going to say is that I found out the reality, and you push this button and it says easy. It's just that simple. But here's what I found out I had to do. How does God communicate?
That's a key.
If he is here and we're talking by, in, and through him in presence right now, sitting at this table and with each other, how does God talk? How does God think? How does he move? Is he doing anything right now?
Well, now you just read where Jesus spoke in first person.
Yep.
And he said, when you've seen him, you've seen the Father, right? But then here in John 14 and 20, which one is it? 14:28. He said, you have heard how I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. If you loved me, you would rejoice because I said I go unto the Father, for my Father is greater than I. So now here we are.
Okay.
Here we are with a man. His name is Jesus. He has come into a place.
And he said he's a man just like everybody else.
Right. He has come into a knowing where When they look at him, they see the Father.
Yeah.
But he also has the same feeling that we have. My Father is greater than I am.
Yeah.
So it is not, when we say oneness with God and that God is what we are that God is the same as, we're not saying the Almighty Father is sitting here in this one little local unit. Although, let's go back to what we were talking about in this. The second one from the bottom, if you read it, it says, religion feels like being a single drop in the ocean. That's what we feel like when you say the Father is greater than I. You feel like you're a single drop in this big old ocean. But spirituality, and this is coming into what Jesus realized and what he discovered, feels like being the entire ocean in a single drop. So Jesus came into this understanding and realization that everything that God is as the Father abides right here as him, the man Jesus. And that's when he could say, when you've seen me, you've seen him.
You know what? There are some people that read the Bible will never think, or read the Course in Miracles, will never think that Jesus, even though he talked about him eating, it never thought that Jesus ever had to go to the restroom.
Of course he did. And he had itches that he had to scratch.
Yeah,
there you go. That he had to scratch.
How did they clean their teeth during that time?
And I'm pretty sure not only did he go to the restroom to do number 2, he did number 1. Now, where did he do that? And did he pull his robe up? He was a human. He was human. Now,
you think he did?
Yes, he did.
You think he had?
But we've idolized the man Jesus. But the man Jesus is our example, and he's showing us, he's our mirror, not just our example. He's the mirror of what we are. But we haven't dared to see ourselves that way. He's the mirror of what we are.
And they wore clothes in that day. Where did he get the cloth from?
Oh, well, I don't know.
I mean, these are earthly things that
they had sheep that they sheared and they made clothes.
Okay, I understand that, but it's just the idea that we look at things and say, well, this is what Jesus did. Did he sleep? Yep.
We think he walked around like an angel all day.
Yeah, walk around 50 feet off the ground. Yeah. Never said anything but what the King James Version said.
Yes. So Jesus, let's change our way of looking at Jesus for a moment. Let's not look at Jesus as God for a moment. Let's look at Jesus as if it is us living back 2,024 years ago. That was us walking around, Jesus making discoveries about himself spiritually.
Hey, he said this, isn't it about time for us to find out and to know that we are in him and he's in us and we are in the Father and the Father in us? That's it. It's time for us to accept this and stop trying to get God to come into everything that we want to get him into. And if he's not in it, let's see if we can't get him in it. And if he's in it, how much can we get of him in it? And maybe we get into this certain place, he'll show up.
Right. Now I've got a couple of comments. And I'm sure he's commenting on what we said something a minute ago. He said God communicates through presence. You were saying, how does God communicate? He said communicates through presence. And in order for us to recognize presence, we have to be completely removed from just physicality. Because God doesn't. Anyway, our mind cannot connect with God.
That's the problem. Now, what I found out was a heart thing, a reality thing. It is impossible for our heart to beat without the life of God. When this life in these bodies are over, the life that's in these bodies is going to leave.
True.
Because God,
we're the life that are in.
We are the life. If God is the life of the body,
we are that life,
and we are that life, is it not known now, just common sense, that this life is God and God is the life that leads the body.
And that there is no life apart from God.
From him.
Yes. Now, I love what Pearl said here. When Jesus said, I go to the Father, he left being Jesus in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
He left being simply human.
The physical body.
Yes. He left, and he did exactly what I said a moment ago when I said, close your eyes and detect where you are. Where are you located when you close your eyes? When you close your eyes and you leave the world outside, where are you? Where are you? Where are you?
Yeah.
When you do that, Jesus left being a body. He left being a human mind and went into that is the Father in consciousness, in awareness, I should say. And thank you, Pearl. That's a perfect way of saying it. Perfect way of saying it.
This school that we are in is one of the hardest schools for anybody to be in and accept the fact that the life that they are in and living is the life of God, with or without religion, Christianity, or Catholic holiness, or any kind of denomination. With or without understanding the Bible, we are the life of God.
Yeah.
Where else could it come from?
True.
Where else did we? I just found out in the sacred script that there are a lot of times in childbirth, before the physical body inside the womb is formed, a lot of times we are standing outside of the body for the finality of entering into it to give the rest of the functions of the body our full attention.
Right. And sometimes we will go into that body and then realize that body's not suitable and leave it.
Now, these sounds like mystical talkings, but it is the truth. This is the life of God that we are it.
Yes. Now, Pearl, you starting something, girl. Okay. She said what I said before. Co-pastor, you just asked us what God asked Adam. Where are you?
Yeah. God was asking himself, where was I? Where was he? Where be I? Where are you? Now, I'm going to ask the question, where is God? Now, Adam could have said back, God said, where are you? Adam could look back, God said, where are you?
I don't think he had to look back at all.
Well, I mean, just back up a metaphor.
In his awareness, God was just the voice.
God was.
And it said that, the voice walking in the garden.
If that voice walked in the cool of the garden, then that voice must have had legs.
It didn't have
and
to have
if it
legs.
didn't have legs, it had consciousness.
It didn't have to have legs.
And if it didn't have consciousness, it was awareness. Whatever it said, it was there, and it was looking for himself in Adam.
Now, this is the thing that I refer back to. You guys heard me say it. It's part of my personal testimony. I was standing in the mirror. This is over 50-some years ago. Standing in the mirror, combing my hair, or whatever I was doing. And all of a sudden, my face transfigures. It transfigures, and I look into my own eyes, and they're not the eyes of Antoinette. They were someone else's eyes. And I heard the voice say, your eyes are my eyes. Your mouth is my mouth. Your ears are my ears. Your hands are my hands, and on and on and on. It was then that I realized that God doesn't have to have feet. God doesn't have to have hands, but our hands and feet, mouth, eyes, whatever, is God's feet. It is God. This body is God moving in the earth. And that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
It's God moving in the earth. But we have idolized, or what's the word I want to say? Haloized. I'm going to give you another word. Haloized what it means to be spiritual. We've haloized it, and we've made it separate from being human.
In the book, from the day one of Cain killing Abel, was the beginning, if the story is correct, was the beginning of the ego mind making man think that man, each of us, are separate and apart from God, even before there was such a thing as getting saved and receiving the Holy Spirit. God was still with and in man as the life force that moved Adam's body around in the garden.
Well, I will refer back to Pastor Norman because, and you're right. Pastor Norman said this way back. He mentioned it about when it talked about Emmanuel and Jesus being born. He said Emmanuel meant God with us, God with man. God doesn't desire any longer to just stay in a remote place for man. He wants to be in man as man, and that's why a lot of us have not been able to locate God, have not been able to connect with God because we're too busy trying to remove God away from ourselves. So we don't realize in order to really connect with God, the more human you are, the more you find God.
Some people think that they can find more of God by fasting and praying.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No. I think I'm gonna fast and pray and see if I can't see more of you. I think I'll fast and pray and go 40 days and 40 nights and see if I can sit here and find more of you. I mean, just listen to what we're saying.
That's the mindset.
I think I'm going to read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation and the Course in Miracles and all the other books and see if I can't find out more about you sitting beside me.
So I want to ask a question, not just of you, but it's just a question out in the atmosphere and in the ethers. What then was the purpose of us having a soul contract or sacred script? Coming into the earth as a human, there were certain things destined to happen. Those scripts, Jesus had his script, and it had to be fulfilled. And certain people had to play roles in order for that script to be fulfilled. What then is the purpose of a sacred script? I'm kind of answering my own question now. I feel it. For myself, one of the reasons a person has a sacred script is to know the trajectory of their human life, to bring them to the potential or the fullness or the fulfillment of whatever it is they were put here for.
I'll tell you why I researched why we have to have a script in coming here. First of all, we didn't need a script before we came here, but since we were coming here, we knew that in our infinite self, that this dimension being one of the most aggravated, most treacherous schools we could go to,
it is
would be
this is
a loss of essence, not a loss of essence, but a loss of memory.
Yes,
we call it memory.
And that with amnesia,
and that we chose to come here, and we had to put down on the inside of us by divine auspices that when we got here, there would always be trace elements that we could relate to. Let me put it like this. What gets us back to heaven is not going to a place. What gets us back to heaven is waking up to be in heaven already before the memory seems like it's lost. Let me say it another way. What gets us back to heaven is finding out that we never left, and that the big lie is that we left, but the memories of heaven cannot be lost because it is what our true essence is made out of. And being made out of heaven, the lie is I was born here and this is me. And I was raised here and I was brought up in a neighborhood and in a street.
And that
comes nowhere close to our true identity.
And that I didn't start until my mama conceived me.
And I'm finding out in the sacred contract, everything that everybody that we meet here is a part of the lessons of recall.
We're in the class
and then we came here to go through this, to experience Well, let's just say it like this. Let's say it like this. I wanted to come here, and everybody that I met, they also wanted to come here to play this game or to play this part of acting like we didn't know each other so that we could find out who each other was after being here and see what it would be like operating as lesser divine beings and then getting the finalities back. We came here to wake up. It's like it's not a game. It is something we wanted to do.
Well, okay. That I'm going to use myself as an example. Be transparent. Yesterday, most of the day, baby girl was having trouble with her throat. Most of you know what we talked about, some of her conditions she's got now that she's a senior dog. She was getting choked and food not going all the way down, all of those things. And so later on last night, I was sitting watching a program that I kind of like, and I was sitting there and I was really enjoying myself, my personal space. And she kept coming to me, and I had already fed her. I had taken her out. I'd done everything I knew to do for her that would help her as a dog to give her what she needed. And she was still bugging me. She was coming to me, just staring at me and trying to get me to do something. I would take her out again, and she wouldn't do anything. And it was just like that
She was trying to tell us something.
all yesterday afternoon, last night. And there was a moment when she came up to me, and I put my hand out like that to her. And then there was another moment where she came up to me and I said, lay down. It was after that, about 30 minutes later, she regurgitated her food.
And she gagged real hard.
Real hard.
I mean, I never heard that sound.
And gasped for breath.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment that it hit me that she was trying to tell me something.
She was.
And so I dealt with that thing.
She knew that was a stressful something.
Because I had a severe anger reaction prior to that. And I said, come on, I'm just tired of fooling with you. And after she had that problem and regurgitated her food, it hit me that I had gotten into my personal space so much. I didn't want to be disturbed. I didn't want anybody to mess with it. And the anger just welled up inside of me. And I realized that you were talking about that we're in this earth school.
Yeah.
I realized at that moment that she was a teacher.
Yeah.
She taught me at that moment that I was being self-centered.
Yeah.
I was being completely self-centered, completely self-absorbed, to the point that I could not even recognize that she was asking for help, and was looking at her as if she was an irritant. Completely self-absorbed, completely self-centered. She was my teacher, or my, what do you call it? You call it not a clue, you called it a trace element.
Trace element. She
was a trace element pointing me back to who I truly am. And it forced me back into character.
Yeah.
Of who I truly am, my true character. So this is how we're in this earth school, but we're not in this earth school just to experience.
Not as a judgment, but as a school of learning.
Right. And what I learned was that everything is my teacher. And what I learned was when anyone or anything causes you to see where you're out of character, they are bringing you back to your Christ mind, the mind of Christ, of who you truly are, so you can readjust and relocate where you're placing yourself. And so it's not so much just a school, but it's to bring us back to our Christ mind.
In a great measure, we gave up the divineness to come here to experience what it meant to be
The
human
loss
and divine.
and
we've done this many times.
with the loss of the mind of Christ, with losing, with forgetting who you are when you enter into this earth plane. And so everything here now, the trace elements, as you said, or the clues, are placed here in people, things playing different roles that will wake us up at the moment. So what she did at that moment when she regurgitated was wake me up.
It did.
It woke me up to what? Woke me up to what? That I was out of character. I was completely self-centered, and I had moved out of my Christ identity.
But,
and so being transparent, you have to recognize that when somebody does something or something happens that points that out to you, you have to be transparent enough to say, okay, I was completely out of character.
let's say it this way. The Christ character that you always were did not change.
It didn't.
It came to the fruition, the forefront of consciousness in this school to see something that was part of its awakening moment in compassion.
I don't have any guilt.
No,
I don't have any guilt because I know that what was reacting was my conditionings. And so that, therefore, I know my true self. So I realize now it was to bring me back to my right mind. It was to bring me back to my right mind. Everything is happening to bring you back to your right mind.
And your right mind is that Christ child or that Christ being.
We have the mind of Christ.
But what is so sacred about this thing is that the Christ does not deviate because of atmospheric change, mood swings, dark, light.
It doesn't change.
It doesn't change. The stability of the Christ being is stabilized.
It's very stable. Yeah.
It's
the only stability.
And it is the only forgiveness that is pure forgiveness. And I'm interested in finding out more. I'm going to say it like this. I'm not interested in praying all the time. I'm interested in seeing more of this me that is the originality before the foundation of the world function in this world of this story in its full capacity of awareness.
Well, I tell you what, when that happened to me last night, when I realized that being that self-centered, having that self-centered mind was totally removed from love.
Yeah.
Totally removed from love. It had no compassion for anything.
And that's not the real us.
And I know that's not the real us, but that's what. So when we're locating ourselves as a separate self in our own personal space, we have boundaries, and we will not allow people to get into them. And when someone violates our boundaries, that's when that anger pops up. That's when that antagonism pops up, and there is no love in it. There's no love in it.
That part that you just realized was the false ideal of separation.
Yes.
The life in that dog, or this dog, is the life that's in everybody here. When that dog life leaves, its body will stop. What is awakening is this Christ in this story of many stories. We have had many lifetimes in different quarters, different degrees, different dimensions, and yet all of us is not fully lodged in this body. The biggest portion of us is in the rest of us in the universe.
So when that happened to me, and I want to make sure I say everything I need to say about it, because when that happened to me, I realized that being in my own personal space and my own little bubble, so to speak, where I was satisfied with what I was involved with at the moment, I could not be loving, because that mode of being in my personal space has too many potentials for violation. And so when someone violates my personal space, then there is nothing here but anger, resentment, self-centeredness, in the sense that it says, well, what about me? What about me? What do I get from this? How does it help me? It all points back to a me. And so I realize when that mind when it's here and it's doing that.
One thing you're finding out.
Wait just a second. When it's here and it's doing that, it is not being love. Love is still here, but it is not allowing love. In love, it is completely separate or removed from love. So if you're feeling these sensations of anger and resentment, antagonism, or you're feeling about, what about me? What about me? When you're in that, you're not in a loving place. I just want to say that you're not in a loving place. I needed to say that because that's what my lesson was yesterday.
But she's doing better.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about that. I have to say what I learned in this event, and because it was beneficial. And I believe it's beneficial for somebody else.
Many more like this as long as we're here.
Yes, it is.
So we are just sharing these personal encounters with you guys. If you have anything you want to say back to us, come on online now. You right here, talk to us. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that these crises that y'all are,
I'm sure they'd have the same thing.
Having something of an experience right now.
Yeah.
One thing we do know, the stability of our Christ self does not leave nor come nor waver. It is stable in love, no judgment, and eternal forgiveness 24/7.
Yeah.
That is, look this right here. This thing here, she come to talk to me. What you talking about now, baby girl? See what she talking? It's time for her to come and interrupt and find out what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, you good?
In the meantime, you guys, I would like for you to hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel already, please do that. Hit the like button and share it if you know someone that may benefit from this lesson that we did today, or this talk that we did today. Please do that right now, and we will be back again on Tuesday night at 7. And again on Thursday.
We'll talk some more of these mysteries.
Yeah. And by that time, I hope I've had enough sleep. I tell you. I may have to take me a nap today.
Thank you so much for your love gifts that are keeping us going.
Thank you, Jill, for posting in the comment section how to do that. She always does that. And Pearl, thank you, sweetheart. She said that helps me co-pastor being out of my comfort zone. I know, especially for those of you who have been caregivers, this is what you feel. You feel the weight of, or the burden of, caring for that other person or that other being, and end up sometimes feeling like you don't have a life because it's all swallowed up in helping somebody else. And at that moment, you had that moments of weakness. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I said that it is important that we realize that everything is our teacher, not just our teacher to teach us a lesson, but it's also our wake up and alarm clock. She woke me up from my self-centered personal space. And I was grateful for that. And the moment that happened, I felt the love swell back up in me. And then there was no more resentment for having to take care of her. There was no more resentment and resistance and all of that. So it is what it is. And I'm just grateful that you guys listen to me and I could be transparent with you. Hey, Denise and Robert, how you guys doing? I love you so much. Been thinking about you guys. And thank you guys for listening. And you could have been anywhere else this morning. And I'm so grateful that you chose to be with us. So grateful. Now, if you want to give, and I know you do because your heart is full and your heart is full of love and you want to support, you can do that by going to the website, which is thecornerstonelifecenter.com for Cornerstone, and send your tithes or your offerings there to help us to keep that going. And I just need to explain to you guys, and maybe for some of you who don't know it, when you give to Cornerstone, you actually are giving to Pastor and myself, because Cornerstone has been our retirement. That so we get housing allowance from Cornerstone, so it's beneficial.
And sometimes that don't come; it comes different ways.
So
and some of you guys, there are different ways that it may come.
So it's beneficial when you give to Cornerstone for Pastor and myself, even though it's not going directly in our hands. It does come into our hands eventually by housing allowance. So you can also do that by texting to CLC Greensboro to 73256, or you can do paypal.me/cornerstone35, or you can simply mail it in to P.O. Box 73256, Greensboro, North Carolina, 27416. And for those of you who want to just bless Pastor and myself personally, you can send it to Cash App, which is $ASawYoursee. And a lot of you have been sending it. Thank you so much for not forgetting about us. And you can mail it if you don't have the means to do it through Cash App. You can mail it to that same P.O. Box, and Vern would make sure we get it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So now we'll see you next time. And we love you.
See you on the turnaround.
On the turnaround.
On the turnaround.
On the turnaround. I don't know what the turnaround is, but on the turnaround.
I mean, you go to a certain point, it comes to the end, turn around and start all over again.
Okay. I got it. I think I got it.
Okay.
Bye, you guys.
Okay.